Hello, Capricorn. Welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor, and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. All right, Capricorn, tonight we have the Two of Wands, which has everything to do with dominion. So when we have this energy, I often think of kind of the old Rider-Waite kind of explanation of trying to figure out which way. We're standing at the crossroads, buddies. You want to go left, you want to go right, forward, backward. Let's go all the ways. You know, like on Alice in Wonderland? Is it Alice in Wonderland? And they're like, which way do you go? And the arms are like crossed, like you go this way and this way. So yes, it is. It's about kind of making a decision, right? But also being kind of indecisive about it. Like not fully like married to the way forward. But yeah, you're there though, right? You're alive. You're breathing. You're warm-blooded. Yeah, and you are standing there looking all the ways that you can to figure out what's next, what's going on, where do I want to see myself in the next, period of time, this next cycle. So let's go ahead. We're going to turn the bowl and we're going to see what do the tea leaves want to tell us about this, because we have a decision to make. All right, and let's go ahead. Oh, immediately a face. Okay, so we have the side profile of a face, eyes, nose, mouth. It looks like a hair, maybe like kind of balding on top, a little poofy on the side. Kind of reminds me of like maybe Tony Soprano or something. But right here we also have Kronos, or the archetype of death, holding the sickle, and and not really being a bro, and showing up to take somebody with them, right? But really, when we see death, it is also so much about time and mortality and, those moments where we start to think like, how did I get here? First of all, why am I here? What led to this situation? And especially if it's something that's like over a prolonged amount of time, you start to think like, did I make the right choice? Am I in the right relationship? Did I move to the right part of the state or country or whatever? Did I go into the right profession? Am I just like piddling my life away? And so I feel like this is somebody in your life who I feel like is like constantly going through these kind of existential crises. Like a lot of people have like, maybe one or two midlife crises or quarter life, midlife, throw in your, Saturn returns and a couple of tower moments, you know what I'm saying? But this is a person that I feel like almost like an uncle, right? That maybe isn't married and probably doesn't have kids, at least that, they raised or whatever. And they are kind of nomadic, and half the time nobody knows where they're at or where they're living or whatever. But they show up every once in a while with, tales of their adventures and maybe a new girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. And they're just not tied down by anything, yet on this ever and constant pursuit of meaning. Something, right? Something they can grab onto that will make their life feel like it means something, like they're doing the right thing, like they found that truth that they're going to chase, you know, whatever it is. I feel like for you, maybe when you were younger, you maybe looked at this person and thought, oh my goodness, what a, you know, how silly, frivolous, you know, kind of irresponsible. Or maybe you were, you know, like me. Anybody like this in my life when I was young, I was like, whoa, they're so cool. They probably go to all kinds of cool shows and stay up real late and, you know, I go to all the raves and stuff, you know. And but then you get older and you start to think like, you know, I kind of understand. I get it. You know. Now, let me just say this, and this is humorous, but my goodness, if you've ever had a family, raised kids, you know, there are certain points where you stop and think, like, I understand why people go out to get cigarettes and don't ever come home sometimes. Like, it really can be a lot, right? So I feel like for you, as you have gotten older into your life, you know, you've experienced some things and, you know, maybe at times not super sure that you've made the right choices. I feel like this family member, this person comes up in your mind's eye. This is the person who nobody understood, but now you know everybody understood them. But mostly people just didn't have the you know what to take that step and to be that person, right? And so and you know, we can all dream about it, right? Are you gonna leave your family, or do you want to give up all that it is to be a person that, you know, has people and responsibilities and a lot going on, and yeah, stressed and tired and all that? Would you really give that away? I don't know. I don't think so. But I do feel like there is room. You don't have to, these things aren't mutually exclusive, right? There are things that we can do within our own life, especially prioritizing ourselves, giving ourselves time, right? Hobbies and passions and, you know, well, for me, one thing is like, I want to see a lot of the mounds in North America. I'm Choctaw. My family is Choctaw, and very tangled into the Mississippian culture and what also people used to call the mound builders. And so for me, it's like a very sacred thing, right? And so I've always thought about, I want to go and, you know, travel around, go on a nice little, you know, few weeks of driving and seeing these different sacred places and see what happens, because I know there will be so many synchronicities and revelations and, you know, all the kind of things, but I haven't. But then I come into places like you are, and you start to think like, what am I doing with my life? I have all these things I want to do, you know. I make sure to do the stuff I don't want to do. I clean the toilet, I pay the light bill, I, you know, rotate the pantry when I get new stuff. You know, it's just, we do all kinds of stuff. Why aren't we doing the things that our heart is pulling us to do? You know, and I feel you really kind of going through a period of time here coming up where you begin to kind of prioritize these even just, you know, fleeting desires that kind of pull you this way and pull you that way, you know. And I'm looking here. We have, it looks like a face. And we have, it looks like a crab. We also have the lobster or the, what's it called? Crawdad from the moon card, which symbolizes the melancholy, okay? Which also, the melancholy is related to Kronos or Saturn or the death archetype. So again, we're kind of in a full circle here. These things are connected. But I feel you really fighting against the urge to isolate yourself when things start to feel very emotional. And I think that's the big thing here, is overcoming your, the way that you cope with stress or depression, anger, upset, grief, all these things that none of us really want to, I don't want to deal with grief. Who wants to deal with grief? But, we don't really have a choice, when it shows up. So I feel like oftentimes you put on your shield, your exoskeleton, you hide within yourself. You keep people at an arm's length. And I think for the work that you are doing and coming into, there really is such a need for vulnerability, for allowing yourself to be in situations where you might feel like you're not the one in control, or you might feel like, I really like this person. I really would like to know them better, but what if they, leave me, or what if they lead me on and then all of a sudden ghost me and I'm heartbroken, and sometimes these things happen, Who hasn't been ghosted once or twice in their life? But the reality is, if we don't take these chances, if we aren't open in some way, there's going to be no change. And I think that, for you, being a Capricorn, you like the intentionality of choosing. You like to be the one to decide which way you're going. You're not going to rely on the current to just kind of take you where it does and see where you land. You're a Capricorn. So I do feel like finding this kind of happy medium. That's part of the work as well. Okay, so the other thing is we have a Taurus person in your life. It feels like they're attached to the number 7, and their birthday, it is Taurus season, so their birthday, but we have a cake here. It's coming up soon, and I do feel like there will be a phone call. We have a phone right there, but I also feel like this leads to kind of a maybe meeting up with one another, maybe having dinner. We have the number 23 here. But I see at the end of it all, kind of forging a deeper and stronger friendship. I almost wonder if this is kind of like somebody that you used to be close with, and for whatever reason, life kind of just led you in different directions. But I see, like, especially in maybe if it's summer coming up for you, or winter if you're in the southern hemisphere, this next large season is going to be one where you are intensely involved with this person. And I feel like that's going to be a good thing. I feel like ultimately it's going to be kind of a really nice change of pace to have somebody who feels like they're really healthy for you, and they're healthy in their own right? Like, and I don't mean physically, but the way that they treat you, the way that they communicate with you, the way that they listen, and, so on and so forth. This is a person that has a very healthy disposition. They're very thoughtful, they're careful, respectful, all of that. And I think that's exactly the kind of energy that you really flourish around. Okay. We also have, it looks like the name Isis or Izzy. Isis or Izzy. Again, the number 7 in the middle. We have the crescent moon and the heart. So I see you really kind of falling hard here. I feel like there's more than a crush that is happening. I feel like this is somebody that you are falling in love with. We also had the angel in there with the moon overhead. So I feel like this is a place where you could get really creative with your the things that you are experiencing, the impressions, the sensations. Putting this into a creative pursuit, I think, would be very beneficial for you. Now we're going to do our 3 lucky numbers. Number 80, 98, number 98, and number 1. All right, and we're going to finish off with our Indigo Sage affirmation cards. I'm just going to flip through, stop where it feels right. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to flip it over. And it says 34, paradox, softly strong. You are one with the flow of the Tao. Let the winds of change move through you. Wonderful. All right, I'm going to hurry up here. I got to go get my daughter from school. And I'm going to say I love you because I do. And if you want to like, subscribe, or leave a comment, I would love to hear from you. Other than that, I'm going to say I love you, love you, love you. Please take care of yourself. And we'll talk in a few days. Good night, good night, good night.